coming up on Network Africa. The death toll rises for those killed in floods and landslides in southern Ethiopia. Congo's presidential election set for this Sunday, March 15. Plus, South Africa responds to remarks made by the U.S. ambassador to the country after he called the chant, "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer," hate speech. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Amarachi Ubani. The death toll from the floods and landslides triggered by heavy rains in Ethiopia has risen to at least 64. The disaster happened in the Gamo zone of the southern part of the country. Authorities say most people died in highland areas where saturated slopes gave way after days of intense rain. They're urging people who live in vulnerable areas to take precautions. East Africa has been experiencing torrential rains in many areas, causing havoc. In neighboring Kenya, dozens have died, with forecasters warning the storms are becoming more intense in the region, partly due to climate change. People in the Republic of Congo will be heading to a presidential election set for this Sunday, March 15. A country home to 6 million people is one of the continent's major oil producers. It continues to face persistent economic challenges, including a youth unemployment rate of 40% and a low standard of living for much of the population. 82-year-old President Denis Sassou Nguesso is widely seen as the frontrunner. He's been in power since 1997 and is seeking another term against 6 other candidates. Few voters expect any major surprise, and many believe the head of state could win outright in the first round. For observers, the main issue is not the outcome of the vote, but voter turnout. About 2.6 million people are registered for this election, and their participation will determine the perceived credibility of the process in a context where the ruling power has been firmly established for nearly 3 decades. And from the United Nations has come condemnation over the killing of UNICEF worker Karin Buisse in Goma, the Democratic Republic of Congo. UN Secretary General spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric carried Antonio Guterres' remarks on the issue in New York, saying Buisse was a dedicated humanitarian who worked tirelessly to support children and families impacted by conflict and crisis, and that the UN, along with the UNICEF, extends its deepest condolences to her families, friends and colleagues at UNICEF. According to the UN, this is the second humanitarian worker killed in the DRC this year. Since January, at least 92 incidents impacting humanitarian workers have been reported across the country.
Moving to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where, as you've seen, a new escalation of violence this morning in Goma has tragically resulted in the death of one of our UNICEF colleagues. The Secretary General joins UNICEF in expressing its outrage that our colleague Karin Buisse was killed in a drone strike in a building that was housing aid workers. Karin was a dedicated humanitarian who worked tirelessly to support children and families impacted by conflict and crisis. We, along with UNICEF, extend our deepest condolences to her families, her friends, and her colleagues at UNICEF. As we've said many times, the parties must ensure the protection of civilians and those providing life-saving assistance. Humanitarian personnel must never be a target. This is international law. It is not up for debate, nor is it up for negotiations. It must be respected. According to our OCHA colleagues, this is the second humanitarian worker killed in the DRC this year, and we're only, sadly, at the beginning of March. Since January, at least 92 incidents impacting humanitarian workers have been reported across the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Last year, more than 650 such incidents were recorded, with 13 humanitarian workers killed and 41 injured across the provinces of North Kivu, South Kivu, Ituri, Tanganyika, and Maniema. Today, UN peacekeepers from the mission's firefighting section responded for emergency support and also for initial assessment of the strike in Goma. Our acting head of mission, Bruno Le Marquis, strongly condemned today's escalation of violence, which notably involved, as we told you, the use of armed drones, which endangers civilians and UN personnel. The use of drones, he said, is deeply concerning. He called for a swift, independent, and credible investigation to identify those responsible and bring them to justice. The mission also reiterated our call on all parties to immediately cease hostilities in accordance with their commitments to respect the ceasefire, to prioritize the path towards a political solution, and to capitalize on the gains recently achieved within the framework of peace efforts.
The Senegalese parliament has passed into law an adjustment punishment for homosexual relations in the country. The new punishment now sees offenders face up to 10 years in jail. A bill is yet to be signed by President Bassirou Diomaye Faye into law. It has an overwhelming favor of the legislation. The prison sentence is to be raised from 5 years to 10. The bill also introduces penalties for individuals accused of promoting or funding same-sex relationships. Authorities have reportedly detained dozens of men in recent months under existing anti-LGBTQ laws, with several arrests drawing national attention. And as global oil prices continue to surge following the war in the Middle East, countries like South Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and Indonesia are introducing subsidies to cushion the economic effects on their citizens. Here in Nigeria, energy expert Bode Shoumi warns that Nigeria should not copy the policies of these countries because the dynamics are different.
South Korea is not an oil-producing nation. South Korea 2 years ago was not in a situation where where there was challenges to paying civil servant salaries or where the airlines were pulling out. The same thing can be said of Indonesia and all that. The dynamics of each nation is different. Cherry-picking decision-making by leadership and using that as an anchor for definitive and critical decisions is not necessarily wise. And that is why I talked about the fact that someone with a holistic view needs to look at how everything will impact, not just in the immediate, but in the short term and in the long term, and to make final decisions. We cannot just go on subsidy because, for example, putting a cap on the price of crude, the price of the finished product is subsidy. Because if the price goes up, it is a cost. Somebody has to take that cost. The cost doesn't disappear into thin air. So if government decides to put a cap on it, there is a cost to it. Who is going to bear that cost? Is that cost going to come from the amount that has been budgeted for medicine? Is that cost going to come from the amount that has been budgeted for roads or railways or whatever? So that cost is going to come from somewhere.
Energy expert Bode Shoumi on the situation in Nigeria. And just like Nigeria, other African countries are being impacted by the war in Iran, the rest of the world impacted by higher oil prices. Let's check in now with our Sahel correspondent Mo Aliu, who is currently in Niger Republic for the latest from there. Mo, great to see you, and thanks for joining us on the program. The major impact of the war has been the rise in oil prices. Is Niger Republic being impacted by this?
Well, the short answer to this your question is yes. Niger Republic is not a major oil producer, as our audience knows. The country has one refinery in the south of the country, in this very city of Maradi, where I am presently visiting. So the country is also, just like many other African countries, it's also being impacted seriously by this crisis. In fact, in the last 2 or 3 days, the price of petrol, which is called essence here, has doubled. Right now, people are complaining seriously about the price. transportation, food, and many other aspects of life have been affected. So Niger Republic, yes, it's been impacted. They have a refinery which only produces about a third of the country's needs so far. They export the majority of the fuel they buy, they produce, from the refinery through the Niger-Benin Republic pipeline. And then they import finished products through the same way. Right now, the country is actually feeling the brunt of this war. Many people I've spoken to on the streets of Maradi say that if this continues, the coming celebrations, the Salah celebrations, in a little over a week will be very, very difficult. From across Niger, people are complaining seriously about the price hike. Yes, Niger is being impacted by these price hikes.
It really is impacting and biting down hard on citizens who have to make the move from point A to point B and have to buy fuel, Africa being a very fuel-dependent country. So here's the thing, Mo. Niger is sort of a pariah state in Africa. It only has partnerships majorly with the other Sahel countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, the closest right now. Niger has rapidly strengthened ties with Iran, focused majorly on combating terrorism. How has that been affected by the war, knowing that Israel and the U.S. accuse Iran of sponsoring terrorism?
Well, you're right. Despite these alliances, these new alliances you spoke of with Burkina Faso and Mali, Niger has drifted away, to put it mildly, because they have expelled the United States presence in the country and France, the former colonial master, and moved and Iran. Well, most people do not know the strength of the relationship between Iran and Niger, but it's there. Niger being a major country, one of the theaters of the insurgency in the Sahel, needs a lot of support from countries that can give it training, that is its troops training, and they also need weapons. So Iran has been the primary supplier of drones to Niger Republic in exchange for uranium, which is one of the issues that has caused this war between the United States and Israel on one side and Iran on the other. The U.S. has been claiming, rightly or wrongly, that the Iranians are trying to build a nuclear bomb, which the Iranians have consistently denied. But they are getting, reportedly, they are getting some of the uranium they need from Niger. And therefore, there is a very strong relationship between the two countries. It's no wonder that they are unhappy with the situation right now. There have not been any demonstrations or any public outcry from people on the streets, but the government, the ministers of some of the ministers in Niger are complaining that, and publicly too, that this war is unjust. And that they do not like the role. They have already seemed to be taking sides, supporting Iran, because it's one of their partners, Georgia.
Well, it's Amarachi. We do apologize to our viewers. We do seem to be having glitches, with Mo's feed, but we'll just try and continue as much as we can. Mo, you spoke a bit about the economic relations between Iran and Niger. You talked about the exchange of drones for uranium. What other economic partnerships exist between the two?
Okay, training. Basically, there are not too many. Most of the partnerships are concerning the military alliance between Russia and Iran on one side, and the Sahel countries, the three Sahel countries, the Association of Sahel countries, the AES, so to speak. So it's basically training and weaponry, while they also sell or barter things like, as I said, uranium, petroleum products to some of these countries like Russia. They have also got some other mineral resources in Niger, like they have gold in Niger. So some of these are mined by the Russians. There is no evidence that the Iranians are on the ground in any of these three countries, but these partnerships are in place. So yes, there is a partnership in place between Iran and Niger and the three other Sahel countries. But basically, what they are after is, a partnership of for trade in some of these resources and in the military sphere, where the countries share, training and weaponry. A one-way trade, you might say, as far as the weaponry thing is concerned. But training and weaponry is what they share. Then the trade aspect. These are the two strong areas of collaboration between Niger and the Iran and also the Russians on the other side. That's what we have for now. If there are any other things that, John, I'm sure in the coming episodes, we will be able to inform our audience what is happening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mo, thank you. Thank you for bringing us up to speed and for shining the light on the situation in Niger as regards the Iranian war. Thanks again for joining us on the program. We're off now on a short break on Network Africa. Still ahead. A mother of two in Nigeria taking on the male-dominated world of tricycle riding in the country's transport sector. She's doing all of this to provide for her family. Stay with us. Welcome back to Network Africa. South Sudan has announced the recapture of the town of Akobo, considered an opposition-held town, the latest flashpoint in fighting between rival armies that has brought the country back to the brink of an all-out civil war. Spokesperson for the South Sudan People's Defense Forces in the capital, Juba, General Lal Rua Kawang, says Akobo is safe as well as the surroundings. Prior to the offensive, the army issued an evacuation order for civilians, United Nations agencies and aid workers. Some 200,000 people fled to neighboring Ethiopia. As a result, South Sudan gained independence, we remember, in 2011, but soon descended into civil war and remains mired in extreme poverty and corruption. Well, South Africa has summoned the new United States ambassador over what officials called undiplomatic remarks on race policies and court rulings. Ambassador Brent Bozell, who assumed his post last month, labeled the apartheid-era chant "Kill the Boer" as hate speech. He criticized black economic empowerment policies, sparking controversy. Foreign Minister Ronald Lamola said the ambassador was called in to explain his comments and emphasized that South Africa's laws and courts determine what constitutes hate speech. Lamola also defended black economic empowerment, saying it addresses structural inequalities and is a constitutional imperative. Bozell later clarified on social media his personal view differs from the United States government's respect for South Africa's judiciary. The remarks have heightened tensions amid ongoing debates over race, history, and economic policy in the country.
With regards to our U.S. relations, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation has noted recent public remarks made by the United States ambassador to South Africa. While South Africa welcomes active public diplomacy and the strengthening of bilateral ties, we emphasize that such engagements must remain consistent with established diplomatic etiquette and international protocols. In this regard, we have called in the ambassador of the United States, Ambassador Bozell, to explain his undiplomatic remarks. And in his engagements and visits to various sites in South Africa, including the Apartheid Museum, District 6, and other historical places. In the engagements, he acknowledges that given our history, South Africa needs redress and is willing to work with us constructively in this regard. South Africa has consistently affirmed that the United States is a vital strategic partner for our economy. and geopolitical issues, particularly on peace and security across the world. This relationship is not a one-sided relationship. South African companies maintain a significant investment in the United States, proportionate to our economy. It will not be possible for us to have the same size of investment.
A Chinese man has been arrested at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, the Kenyan capital. Authorities discovered more than 2,000 live queen ants concealed in his belongings. The suspect, identified as Zhang Kejan, was stopped during a security scan in an attempt to return to his home country. Prosecutors revealed to a court that the ants were neatly placed in test tubes and tissue rolls inside his traveling bags. The ants are protected under international biodiversity agreements and their trade is highly controlled. Investigators believe the apprehended man is enticed to a bigger ant trafficking network dismantled in Kenya last year. Further arrests are bound to happen as the investigation gets deeper. We're back here in Lagos, so we're bringing you the story of Seun Lebi, a mother of two who moved from Ondo State in search of better opportunities. Determined to build a better life, she returned her passion for tricycle riding into a steady source of income, breaking barriers in a field traditionally dominated by men.
I'm from Ondo State, yes. So I moved into Lagos around 2003. That was when I moved into Lagos. So I stayed with my mom's elder sister at Ikotun Egbe then. Yes. I like anything hustling right from time. That is me. So to hustle, go like this, travel, go and buy this and come back here, sell it, that is me right from time. I choose transportation because I know with transportation is daily money. It's daily money. Once you go out, you work, you will eat, even your children, even at times you will save after work, after the daily work, you will eat, you have some savings. So that is why I choose transportation, and it's, in fact, it really helps me a lot.
I know Madam Lebi now. Going to 4 or 5 years now. So that's not where I know. I'm just come. So they drive this Mara for another place before. So it's come here and say want to drive. I don't want to say, woman like you want to drive. Say yes, say na your own business. Okay. Just come. I work around. So in that time, they work here.
The challenges I'm facing here is the way the passengers at times they want to look down on you. If you don't know how to fight back or talk back at them, they want to belittle you or talk to you anyhow. So that is just, for me, that is just the challenges I'm facing. I've achieved a lot. I only came to Lagos with my small luggage, small one. But today, I'm here. Thanking God that I'm in Lagos. At least, if I'm not outside Nigeria, here in Lagos, God is still helping me. When coming to Lagos, 1, be focused, and 2, don't be lazy. And what? The number 3 is shine your eyes.
Network Africa. Here are a few facts about one of the countries on the continent. It's Egypt we have our eyes focused on. One of the continent's top 2 most visited countries. It constantly competes with Morocco for the top spot, with about 15.7 to 19 million people visiting the countries in 2024 and 2025. Here are a few more facts. Egypt has experienced significant historical events, including the Egyptian Revolution of 2011, part of the Arab Spring, which led to the fall of President Hosni Mubarak, and the first democratically elected president. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh, was of Greek descent, highlighting Egypt's diverse historical influences. And now you know. Thanks for watching Network Africa. I'm Amarachi Ubani.